She let out a soft breath, scrolling through her phone at the breakfast table as I finished pouring her coffee exactly how she preferred it. 2 sugars, a touch of oat milk, nothing more, nothing less. I'd risen early that Saturday to prepare blueberry pancakes from scratch, the sort she used to praise endlessly when we first shared this place. The kitchen still carried the scent of vanilla and warm batter, while gentle jazz drifted from the speaker on the counter. I hoped today would feel relaxed, like the weekends we once enjoyed before life grew so hectic. I placed the plate before her and settled across the table with my own serving. She looked up briefly to mumble her thanks, then returned to the screen. Her thumb swiped in quick motions that I observed for a moment, noting how the morning light highlighted the stray strands of hair framing her face. We've been together 4 years now, sharing this small downtown loft for 2. I still adored the way she appeared when she wasn't making an effort. Hoodie partially zipped, legs curled beneath her on the chair. "How did you sleep?" I inquired, slicing into a pancake. "Fine," she replied without glancing up, late night catching up on messages. She'd been doing that often recently, remaining awake after I'd gone to bed, her phone illuminating the darkness next to her. I'd inquired once or twice if something was wrong, and she dismissed it as work pressure or old college friends resurfacing. I trusted her. I always trusted her. We ate mostly in silence, the jazz bridging the quiet moments. When she eventually set her phone aside, she toyed with the pancakes, consuming just a few mouthfuls. "These are good," she remarked, though her voice sounded dull, as if reciting a scripted line. I smiled regardless. "Glad you like them." I suggested maybe we could visit the farmer's market later, select ingredients for dinner. "The weather's supposed to be pleasant." She shrugged. "Maybe I might have plans already." Plans. I kept my tone casual. "With who?" "Just some folks from that networking group I joined." She rose, carrying her plate to the sink. "You know, the creative professionals circle." I nodded. She'd spoken of the group several times, mostly designers, photographers, and startup individuals. She was attempting to expand beyond her graphic design day job, develop something freelance on the side. I fully backed it. I'd even assisted her in refreshing her portfolio website last month, working until 2 in the morning adjusting code so her animations loaded more smoothly. "Cool," I said. "Want company?" She turned on the faucet, rinsing her plate longer than needed. "I think it's better if I go alone this time. It's more focused that way." Something in her delivery made my stomach clench, but I suppressed it. "Okay, no problem. I'll find something to do." She dried her hands and approached, giving a brief kiss to the top of my head. "You're sweet," she said, and then she departed, heading to the bedroom to prepare. I remained seated, finishing my coffee and gazing at the partially eaten pancakes on her plate. Later that afternoon, I was on the couch sketching concepts for a new app interface, my personal side project, when her phone vibrated on the coffee table. She'd forgotten it in her haste to leave. The screen brightened with a preview. "Elliot, can't wait to see you tonight. That rooftop bar is perfect for what I have in mind." A winking face. My heart performed a slow, nauseating turn. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed again. I didn't pick up the phone. I didn't need to. The name Elliot was one I'd never heard her mention. I sat perfectly still, the pencil still gripped in my hand. The loft suddenly felt far too quiet. I reflected on all the late nights, the way she'd begun dressing up more during the week, the unfamiliar new perfume. Fragments I'd overlooked or rationalized fell into place with an almost audible click. When she returned home that evening, chuckling quietly to herself as she slipped off her shoes, I was in the kitchen preparing tea. She approached from behind, encircling my waist with her arms. "Hey you," she murmured into my shoulder. "Miss me?" "Always," I answered, maintaining a steady voice. I turned, offering her a mug. "How was the networking thing?" She accepted the tea and blew across it. "Really good, actually. Met some interesting people. Lots of energy. Anyone I should know about?" I asked lightly. She paused for half a second, just long enough. "Not really, just the usual crowd." I nodded, sipping my own tea. We chatted about ordinary things for a while, her walk home, the new mural on 14th Street, whether we needed more oat milk. Inside, everything felt remote, as if I were observing us from across the room. That night in bed, she drifted off quickly, her breathing soft and steady beside me. I lay awake, eyes fixed on the ceiling, replaying the message in my mind. I didn't challenge her. I didn't examine her phone. I simply allowed the realization to sink in, cold and weighty. The following few weeks unfolded in a peculiar, cautious rhythm. She continued going out more often, networking drinks, collaborative gatherings, brief coffees with potential clients. I'd nod, smile, pose gentle questions she evaded effortlessly. I prepared dinners she sometimes consumed, sometimes ignored. I repaired the leaky faucet she'd mentioned for months. I maintained the loft's cleanliness, kept the fridge supplied, remained the reliable one. I began preparing discreetly. I opened a new savings account solely in my name. I refreshed my resume, contacted a few former colleagues about freelance prospects. I reserved a short solo trip to the coast for the next month, something I'd long desired but delayed for when we had time together. I mentioned none of it to her. One Thursday evening, she arrived home later than usual, cheeks rosy from wine or the chill air. I couldn't distinguish which. I was at the dining table with my laptop, refining a new portfolio piece. She dropped her bag, removed her heels, and poured herself some water. "God, what a night!" she exclaimed, laughing lightly. "Those people are intense." I shut my laptop. Sounds fun, it was. She leaned against the counter, observing me. "You okay? You've been quiet lately." I met her gaze. "I'm fine." She tilted her head. "You sure? You seem distant." This was the moment, the opportunity. I could have inquired about Elliot, about the messages, about her true whereabouts. Instead, I drew a slow breath. I've been thinking, I said, about this. I motioned vaguely between us. I love you. You know that, her expression eased. I love you too, but I don't think we're moving in the same direction anymore. She stiffened, glass paused midway to her mouth. What are you talking about? I see how thrilled you become about these new people, these new opportunities. And I realize I'm not included in that thrill. That's not, she began, but I lifted a hand softly. It's okay, I said. My voice remained calm, almost casual. I want you to pursue what brings you joy, and I want the same for myself. She placed the glass down firmly. Are you breaking up with me? No, I said. I'm acknowledging that we've already drifted apart. I'm just voicing it aloud. Her face changed, confusion, then defensiveness. This is coming out of nowhere. I've been trying to create something bigger, yes, but that doesn't mean I don't want us. I nodded. I know you believe that, but I also know I'm not the excitement you're seeking right now. And that's fine. She laughed then, brief and incredulous. You're being ridiculous. We're good. We're comfortable. We have a life here. Comfortable, I echoed softly. The word lingered between us. She folded her arms. What's wrong with comfortable? Not everyone needs constant fireworks. Nothing's wrong with it, I said. But I don't want to be someone's reliable option while they're pursuing fireworks. Her mouth opened, then closed. For the first time, she appeared unsettled. I stood up, closing my laptop completely. I'm going to stay at my brother's place for a few days. Clear my head. You're leaving? Just like that. I grabbed the small duffel I'd prepared earlier and positioned by the door. Just clothes, toiletries, my laptop. Nothing dramatic. Not leaving, I said, taking space. I'll return for the rest of my things next week when you're at work. She trailed me to the door. We can talk about this. We can fix it. I turned, regarding her one final time. She looked beautiful, standing there in the hallway light, eyes wide and suddenly uncertain. We already did talk, I said gently. You just weren't listening. I stepped out, drawing the door shut softly behind me. No slam, no shouting, just the quiet click of the lock. My brother lived 40 minutes away in a peaceful suburb. He opened the door, examined my expression, and moved aside without questions. That night I slept in his guest room, the walls a soft blue, the silence profound and pure. The next morning I woke early, brewed coffee, and began making calls. Real estate agents, storage units, freelance clients. I felt oddly unburdened, as if I'd been hauling something burdensome for months and only now recognized it. She texted that afternoon. Please come home, we need to talk. Then this is insane, you're overreacting, then I miss you. I read each one, sensed the familiar pull, and let it fade. I didn't respond. Over the next week I located a small one-bedroom in another neighborhood. High ceilings, large windows, walking distance to the train. I signed the lease. I transferred my belongings gradually, always when I knew she'd be away. The loft appeared smaller with each visit, as if it belonged to an earlier chapter of my life. I continued working, continued jogging along the river path near my new home, continued developing the freelance career I'd always intended to expand. The days felt fuller in a fresh way, shaped by me. 2 weeks after I'd left, my phone rang from an unknown number. I nearly ignored it, but I answered. Hello, it's me. Her voice sounded smaller than I recalled. I got a new phone. You blocked the old one. I stayed quiet. I need to understand. You walked away like it was nothing. It wasn't nothing, I said. It was everything. She remained silent for a long pause. I thought you'd fight for us. I did, I said, for a long time. Then I realized I was the only one fighting. Another silence. Things aren't going well, she confessed at last. The freelance stuff, it's harder than I thought. Clients are flaking. I'm behind on rent. I listened. I miss how easy it was with you here, she said. How you handled everything. I closed my eyes briefly. I miss parts of it too, I said, but not enough to return. She began to cry then, soft, frustrated sounds. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted more. I thought we could have both. I know, I said. And now you get to discover what more feels like without the safety net. I ended the call gently, blocking the new number. A month later, I was at my new favorite coffee shop, laptop open, completing a major project for a client who had just doubled my rate. The spot featured exposed brick, excellent light, and baristas who recalled my order. Someone paused beside my table. I glanced up. She stood there, slimmer, hair cropped shorter, eyes weary. She clutched a to-go cup like a shield. Hi, she said. Hi, can I? She indicated the empty chair. I nodded once. She sat, gripping her cup with both hands. You look good, she said, relaxed. Thanks. You, she offered a small, ironic smile. Not great. Lost the loft. Staying with a friend for now. The whole freelance dream kind of imploded. I nodded, waiting. I get it now, she said softly. What you meant about being comfortable. I thought it was an insult, but I leaned on it. On you. And when you left, I realized how much I wasn't carrying my own weight. I sipped my coffee. I was scared, she continued, of settling, of missing out. So I kept one foot out the door, and then you closed it. I met her eyes. You taught me something important, I said. That I deserve someone whose foot is all the way in. Someone who chooses me not because I'm safe, but because I'm who they want. Her lips quivered. Do you think someday? I shook my head, not unkindly. No, but I hope you find what you're looking for, really. She looked down at her cup, nodded. I hope so too. I stood, packed my laptop, slung my bag over my shoulder. Take care, I said. She watched me depart, and this time she didn't call after me. Outside, the afternoon was bright and cool. I walked toward the river, hands in my pockets, breathing freely. The path ahead was wide open, and for the first time in years, it felt entirely